Number 1, civil target dispatch 4, Bravo, 65, 20 low. Everyone.
Well, hello there, everybody. Welcome to another edition. Hello there, a little twisted. Hello there. We've got Brian Barber in the house. Amy, hello there. Welcome, Amy. Amy, you'll get your tracking number tomorrow. And we got Steve. Hello, Steve. How are you doing there tonight? So welcome, everybody. So I just want to let everybody know Justin's not able to make the show tonight, so due to his medical. And we've got good news for him, so I'll let Justin tell everybody. So how are you doing tonight, Mary?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you, Chris?
Oh, wonderful. So tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we got some VIP in the house. We've got Pam Harris and her brother Steve going to be talking about the Bug's Life before the Mafia. And like Justin was talking to me about, it's for him, it's down a different rabbit hole because Justin usually doesn't go outside different realms, but I do. I always like to put my toes in different pools. But anyways, Curtis, nice to see you there. Hopefully you're catching some stuff up there at Salt Fort. So hopefully everybody's doing well. Let's go ahead and bring on Pam Harris. Pam, how you doing?
Hi, how you doing?
Not too bad. I don't know what happened to Steve. He was just like, poof, disappeared.
Uh-oh.
So he'll be back. So, yeah,
He'll
so
be
introduce yourself and tell us a little background history on you.
Well, you want on me?
Yeah.
I'm not that interesting. Well, let's see. I've been retired for about 12 years, and we have 3 children, 13 grandchildren, and we'll just keep on growing. Awesome. My real hobby is repurposing furniture, and that's what I've been doing a lot of lately. So,
oh, that's awesome.
That's my passion. But I think now Steve has a new passion, and that's writing. So that's great.
Well, that's great. Yeah, that really is. Hopefully Steve will be back here momentarily.
He said he had some internet issues. Be right back, he said.
Okay, good, good.
But so you got, what's new with you all?
Well, like I said, everybody knows we are Curtis is getting ready to go up the hill. Don't get eaten by Bigfoot. So everybody knows that I was supposed to be at Salt Fork, Ohio this weekend, and it didn't pan out. So I'm sorry, everybody. So have fun and be safe. But no, so we're all moving to Memphis, Tennessee in the next 3 to 4 weeks, or actually 2 to 3 weeks.
So have you set a date yet?
Well, we're looking in October, but it's creeping up so fast, and we were like, well, we don't know what to do because we got our conventions, we got our events, we got moving. What was the name of that town I was up at today? Wabash. I was in Wabash all morning and all afternoon. Yeah, we got our product, our pepper sauce in the stores up there. Yeah. So I was stalking all that. So we just, of course.
We are originally from Fort Wayne, Indiana. So we know exactly where that is. We used to go vacation there. Our dad would take us for 2 weeks to the lakes. And we went to Wabash a few times.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, I told Mary, she used to have grandparents that lived up there.
Yeah.
And I loved it. And the scenery.
Yeah, it's
driving up
awesome.
there, it was nice.
Yeah,
And
it was awesome.
it was funny because I stopped at a gas station, and her son, the youngest one, Edison, held up a door for a couple of guys that was older than me, and they were like, "Thank you," and I was like, "Yeah, thank you," and they looked at me. They're like, we went in there, and we all stood in line to get our Polar Pops. Right, you can't see
Yeah.
it. I got ice water now. And he goes, "Well, what are you guys doing?" And I'm like, "Oh, we're just up here stocking the store with our products and stuff." And he goes, and I said, "What are y'all doing?" They're like, "Well, we're farmers and everything." And I'm like, "Farmers?" I'm like, "Have y'all seen Bigfoot?" They're like, "No, we haven't seen Bigfoot, but we want to see Bigfoot because we believe in them."
Yeah.
And they looked at me, and they're like, "You believe in Bigfoot?" I'm like, "Yeah, I believe in Bigfoot." They're like, "Where are you from?" Like, is it my accent? They're like, "Yeah." They're like, "You're not from around here." I was like, "Well," I said, "Why don't you check me out on Bigfoot Outlaw on YouTube?" And they're like, "Grizzly!" And everybody in the store turned around at the gas station, and I was like, "Oh my God!" And her son got the biggest kick out of it, right?
Oh, I bet. I bet.
So they're like, "Yeah, we watched your show. We see Mary." And the next thing you know, we're like 20 minutes in the gas station. I kept telling Edison, "Get to the counter. Get to the counter."
Are you guys still going to Tennessee?
Yes.
Great. We'll see you there. Yes. I'm excited.
Yeah, we sure are. Yeah, we got everything booked, hotels booked, everything. So we're good to go.
Yeah.
Anything from Steve yet, or is he still working on it? Maybe he's just had to reboot.
Do you see him anywhere?
No, I sure don't.
Huh. Let me see.
Amy says, "I never get a dinner with red buttons." I wonder what red buttons are.
I was going to say, what is that?
I don't know, Amy. What I love, it's all so clear. And Amy, what I love, which nobody knows about around here, Pam, do you know what boiled peanuts are?
Yeah.
Okay, because a lot of people up here are like, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah.
Walmart up here sells them. We buy the heck out of them. So,
laptop is reloading it. He said.
Okay, good.
He doesn't usually have problems with the internet, so I don't know. He's in San Diego, California.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, he's in San Diego. Oof. But he'll be here next week, so because he's going to Tennessee with me, so I'm so happy about that. Yeah. Happy about that.
That's real nice.
So how is your things going otherwise?
Oh, real good. Yeah. We can't complain at all. It's just, she just got off work probably not even 45 minutes ago.
Wow.
So
that's crazy.
Red Buttons is a comedian, she says.
Oh.
So
she said she's old. She's not old. I'm sure she's not.
And look, I used to watch Benny Hinn. Okay, come on.
Hey, trust me. I did too.
My grandparents loved that old guy.
Yeah.
And he was like, Mary's like, "Who's Benny Hinn?" Look at her. Who is he?
Are you talking about Benny Hill?
Or Benny Hill, yes.
That's Benny Hill.
I said he. Yeah.
Yeah, it's Benny Hill. We did too.
Benny Hill. I stand corrected. Yes.
Yeah.
He was always funny. So look, Ryan Barber's like, he's laughing. He's like, Benny Hill's the best.
Yeah.
Never a dull moment with them.
No, never.
Not at all. So anything new with you, Pam, that's going on, or?
Nothing new. I'm just excited about this Paracon that we're going to. I've never been to a Paracon, so it's my first one.
Oh, that's awesome.
I'll be real excited to meet Michael and Marty. They wrote the foreword for our book, and so I'm really excited to meet them.
That's great. Really excited. It really is.
Steve's known him for a long time because they used to live in San Diego. Hi, Triana. Lee Triana created our book cover. Lee Triana,
wow.
She created our book cover, and I love it. And we've had so many compliments on it. she's, I just can't thank her enough. She also hooked us up with our publisher, and she's wonderful too, Vicki Peplow. And I just couldn't be more pleased at all. Everybody,
Yeah, awesome.
oh, there you are. You're little now.
All right. And ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Steve. How you doing there,
Hi,
Steve?
Lori.
All right.
All right, there you are.
Boy, I don't. It just right after your intro, it just shut down.
Oh Lord,
It's just too much to handle, I guess.
Yeah.
So, Steve, introduce yourself and give us a little background on you, kind sir.
Well, I'm Pam's brother. I almost said sister. I'm Pam's brother. I live in San Diego, and what else do you want to? I'm retired, so I have lots of time on my hands.
I said that you have a new passion,
Yeah,
writing.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, he has a new passion. And he really didn't think that the book should be published because he didn't think anyone would be interested until we did our first podcast with Lee Triana Brown on All Access Network. And that's when he realized that people were interested.
Well, the rest of that story is that, yeah, that's how I felt. Like,
Yeah.
outside the family, who's going to want to read this? And so Pam had shared an edition of what we're going back and forth almost every day. You know, writing a little more, questioning things, taking things out. And she had shared a version of that with someone, with Vicki.
Yeah.
And so we were on this podcast just talking about it. Here's what we're doing. Didn't think much more of it. Here's what it's about. And it was like 2 days later, it's like, okay, here's your manuscript.
Yeah, it was
And
quick.
we're like, okay, time out. This is not the latest version. And we had just found out that there were stories we hadn't heard before that were very relevant. We wanted to put in the book. So about a week later, we put together what we had at the time, and it was published, and it's available on Amazon. Have you already showed the QR code?
No, I haven't.
If you just go on Amazon in the search bar and type in Pam's name or my name, Steve Workman, the book comes up, but there's also the QR code.
Hold on,
Yeah.
let me make you bigger here. Hold on, hold it right there. And we'll have a button here, and bam, there you go.
Bam, there you go.
Okay.
You want to hold it up again since you're on the big screen?
Oh, look
Use
at that.
more time. There you go.
There you go.
That way they can scan it. Perfect.
Yeah.
So
That's
how did this start, guys? How did this book even come about?
Well,
So the QR code actually has bullet holes in it.
actually,
Go
our
ahead.
dad did research all of his life looking for his dad. He
So
left when he was 6. So
his motivation for that was he heard his parents talking when he was 6, and the conversation was his dad was leaving and he wasn't coming back.
mhm.
And so this really upset the 6-year-old, right? And he watched his dad drive away. And so he had been looking for him his entire life. And so, you know, he was sharing the information that he had. He just never could understand what happened to him. Where did he go? And why did he leave, right? And so he was actually here in San Diego, I think about 85. And his cousin had sent him copies of some pages of a book called The Workman Family History. And so he and I went to the library. It's a hardbound book. He and I went to the library in San Diego and told the librarian we're looking for the Workman family history. And she pointed to this collection of books that looked like encyclopedias and said, those are all lists of books on genealogy. Okay, well, now I knew a new word, your family history, genealogy. I thought, well, that's easy. We'll just go look in the W's for Workman. And she laughed and goes, that's not how it works.
Yeah.
It's listed by author. And we're like, great. So we start with the A's. And we're looking through the A's, all the genealogy books. And as luck would happen, it was written by Thelma Anderson.
Yeah. So that's why they were looking at A's.
Well, that's what you have to start at the beginning of the alphabet. We were going to go all the way to Z if we had to.
Yeah.
So now that I had the author and the publisher, I think the publisher's in Boston, we were able. So this is research that was done in the 20s and 30s. And this book traces our family history. It lists our dad and his family in it and goes back to the 1600s.
Oh, wow.
And the way they were able to do that is through all of the birth and death records, property records. But once they got back to England and Scotland, then they started looking at church records.
Right. Baptismal
church
records.
is going to have baptisms, deaths, marriages, all of those things. And the book actually even provided the coat of arms for the Workman family. So that trip got us the book. Once we got the book, then he had a basis to start on. And so there was a couple mistakes where his family's listed. So he started his research on yellow tablets, right?
Right.
He started with correcting the book and then kind of went forward.
And keep in mind that his research, there was no internet. All he had was a phone book, a telephone, and the library.
Wow.
So he would write letters and people would write back, and he was lucky that they wrote back because you don't know if it's the right family,
Right.
So he would get a few addresses, and I actually have his original writing of the history, and I have some of those letters that he got in the mail also. So then he passed away, and he's been gone about 27 years. And so since then, I've tried to pick up, because I had internet. But I will say one thing, don't totally throw all your cookies into a basket for ancestry. Because if somebody misses a date, puts a wrong initial, spells a name wrong, it screws everything up.
Oh, I can imagine.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So what she's saying is Ancestry, the website, isn't 100% correct.
It's a great website, but
count on it.
yeah. So a lot of the research that I did, I used through genealogy in the Fort Wayne Library. They have the largest genealogy search in the United States. So that's where I did a lot of it. Otherwise, we also have, our dad had filed for the FBI file on his dad, and we got it after he passed away. So there's a lot of information in here too.
The family stories were always that he was part of the mafia. It was never, it wasn't a secret. But there wasn't much known about it.
Yeah.
And so that file that she held up from the FBI is 304 pages. Some of it's lined out, some of it's redacted, some of it's hard to read.
Yeah.
We're just finding so much out. Even after we published the book, there's more family stories
There's still more to come.
that are really helping us just go further
Yeah.
down the rabbit hole and identify all the details.
Yeah. So our dad didn't just tell us about his dad. He told everybody that he could, including our cousins when they were young. And that's where the back of the book came from, is our cousin. He was really enticed by the stories that our dad told him. So he got a 41 door, hung it in his office, and put Charlie's picture in the window like he's driving it. So I thought that was just so cool. And, I mean, it's just really snowballing with family stories, because a lot of people don't really care to know about it. I mean, not everybody in our family is a fan of it, because he left his family. So,
if I was to ask you and anyone in the chat room, what's the most famous Mafia hit that you can think of that happened, say, in the 30s? Nothing like with John Gotti, nothing in the 60s.
Yeah, because Gotti wasn't even there then.
Can you think of a mob hit that happened very early on in the 30s?
Jimmy Hoffa.
Jimmy Hoffa happened much later, but
Yeah,
it was later. Yeah.
And so that's a good guess, but you can't prove it. What I would say for that. So let me ask you, have you heard of Dutch Schultz?
Yeah.
No? So he was a mafia leader in New York, and there was a, and I always skip this name, what they called themselves, but there was like a committee of mafia leaders, right? And so Dutch Schultz was getting a lot of heat from this prosecutor named Thomas Dewey. And Thomas Dewey was not only getting mafia members arrested, but he was getting them sentenced to the electric chair. Pretty serious. It was going after him. He was actually appointed by the governor to do exactly that.
Right.
So Dutch Schultz goes to the group and says,
wow,
we got to take out this prosecutor, Thomas Dewey. I mean, he's given us way too much, way too many problems, especially Dutch, because he was coming after Dutch specifically. And the rest of the mob leaders said, Dutch, we don't do that with government officials, with law enforcement. It just brings too much attention on us, and it would really affect our operations as a whole. So we just need to find our way around it. Well, this angered Dutch, and he said, if you won't do it, then I will, and left the meeting. Well, it was pretty easy that it was decided, you know what? We need to take out Dutch, because we can't have this.
Mm-hmm.
It's not in our best interest.
Too much attention drawn to those people. So
Dutch had Thomas Dewey tailed and had a hit figured out. He was probably within 24 hours of doing the hit on Thomas Dewey. He knew his routine. He knew where he went every day. He knew how he was going to do it. And so it just turned out that the Louis Lepke, so there was the Italian mob from Sicily, and then there was the Jewish mob. And the way they worked together was the Jewish mob had this force of hitmen. And the newspapers later on coined the phrase Murder Incorporated. And so they would do hits for the Italian mob. And they really liked that because all they had to do is pay them. And they're like, the hitman isn't going to know anything about who ordered the hit, why they're doing the hit. They're just following orders. And so it gives us some insulation. So the hit on Dutch Schultz was handled the same way. It was given to Mindy Weiss and Charlie the Bug Workman. So Charlie's nickname was Charlie the Bug. And that was because he could do a hit on anyone and it never bothered him. He just went on business, right?
Yeah.
And calm as a bug, right? So Charlie takes out Dutch Schultz and 3 of his associates. They were out for dinner someplace, and they take out Dutch Schultz, and everything's fine until about 4 years later, 3 or 4 years later. People start, because the DAs didn't quit. They were still finding Mafia people, right, finding them associated and prosecuting them. Well, it got around to some of the people. The only way they could save themselves is if they decided to talk. Some of them decided to talk.
Yeah.
And at the time there were, the FBI was looking at an operation going on in New York that having to do with furs and clothing. They had something in place that either you play with my suppliers and my stores and give us a kickback on it, or you don't play at all. Well, they were investigating that, which was kind of a low level. And what they find out, people started talking, and wouldn't you know it, they started talking about the hit on Dutch Schultz. And the FBI at the time thought, that was just some
petty
between the members of the mob. It was no big deal. They're just having a territorial fight or whatever it was. Well, kinda. But once they found out, they started prosecuting people, and so then they found out about Charlie, the operation, all the people involved. But really, our book is about that's kind of the foundation on why this is even a book. But what the book is about, the Bug's life before the Mafia.
So all of these stories that he just told have already been known. This book, our story, no one has ever heard. No one has ever heard about Charlie's family before he went to the Mafia.
There's lots of books. There's lots of movies.
Yeah.
Some of them stretch the truth a little bit more than others.
Yeah.
Some of them don't know they're stretching the truth. But no one has talked about Charlie's life before the Mafia.
Right.
And so in that Workman family history, Charlie's listed. He's our grandfather. He's our dad's dad. His birthplace is listed. He was first married to another woman before our grandmother, had a son. They got divorced, and then he married our grandmother. They had 4 kids. And this is where we kind of learned about family stories and the validity of family stories. So I think you were mentioned earlier, Grizzly. You heard some family stories about your family being involved in New York.
Oh yeah, my dad
Right.
is
So
very.
those are stories that you've been told, right? You don't know any different.
Right. So that's what this book is.
So the story that our family carried on was that Charlie's first marriage, he had a son. They got divorced. So our family story was that woman he divorced came to our grandmother with this little boy that was probably 7 or 8.
He was 9.
9? Okay. I knew he was older than our dad.
Yeah.
He was 9 years old and said, "Can you raise him? Because I'm too sick. I can't raise him anymore. Will you take him?" And so that's been found to be fact. When our grandmother got a divorce from Charlie, the papers list custody of 5 children. Well, we know she only had 4.
Right.
The fifth one was the other one named Robert from Charlie's first marriage that she adopted. And so that was our family story, that woman brought him to live with our dad's family because she was too sick. Well, fast forward about 70 years. And so through Pam's research, she found the descendants of that woman that first married Charlie. He got remarried, she got remarried, and they only lived about 30 miles away from where our family lived our whole lives.
Yeah.
And so she was able to meet with that family. They knew all about Charlie. They had their own family stories.
Yeah.
And when it came to that boy, they're like, "Oh no, that's not what we heard."
Yeah.
What we heard is Charlie took the boy and wouldn't give him back, and the mother never stopped trying to get him. Which, looking from Charlie's perspective and our grandmother's perspective, we can see kind of why they told that story, because it makes Charlie in a better light, right?
Right.
But we think the truth is probably what their family story is that Charlie took the boy and wouldn't give him back. And so this background, his life before the Mafia and Pam's research, has all come full circle. And we're just finding out more stories. And that's what we're hope comes out of this book, is more people get involved, more family members related to Charlie. And just, we can find out more and more information.
So when Charlie goes to New York, he also gets married and has a child. So he's gotten married, he has a child. This child becomes a famous PGA golfer.
Oh wow.
Chuck Workman.
And he wrote his own book.
He wrote his own book, From Motor Incorporated to the PGA Tour.
Interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting.
And so this was written after Charlie died.
Yeah.
And so his son, from his family stories, tells about all of these Mafia people that are all well known that his son called uncle, because that's how tight the family was.
Yeah.
And so Charlie goes to prison like in 41 for like 23 years. He gets out in 64. So his son tells the story of his life. And even when his dad got out of prison, picked it up and told stories about his life afterwards.
Yeah. But, that's why this book is so different, because nobody's ever heard the story of Charlie before the Mafia. He's got 2 families here. And so now his son has passed away also, the one from New York, but they have a big family. So a few years ago, while I was doing research, and this is going forward a little bit, I think. Am I ahead of you, Steve?
No, you're right.
So a few years ago, I'm doing some research, and I don't even know how I got it. I don't know. But it popped up on my computer, and it had a list of everybody on it, and it had phone numbers. Don't know where it came from. Don't know how I got it. So I thought, well, I'll just
so many searches.
Yeah. And so I just thought, well, I'll call the youngest one because these phone numbers could be old. And, so I called the youngest one, and I asked for the girl's name that was on the paper. And she said, no, there's no one that lives here by that name, and hung up. I was like, okay, they're probably just old phone numbers, didn't think a lot about it. A few minutes later, she called back, and I almost didn't answer because I didn't know the phone number. Well, then I realized that's the number I just called. So she called back, and I said, hello. And she said, did you just call this number? I said, as a matter of fact, I did. She said, can I ask you what you want with her? I said, well, I believe that we're related. So I'm reaching out. She was like, oh, really? So this turns out to be the son in New York, his second wife.
Oh, wow.
And so I asked her a few questions, like, did she know his brother Itchy? And she said yes. And, she said, so what is this all about? So I gave her a short version, and I said, I'm thinking about writing a book. She said, well, I'll tell you that a producer contacted me and wanted to make a movie, and I left it up to the kids, and the kids said no. And I said, well, I'll tell you what, you take my phone number, and if any of the kids want to call me, have them all call me. And she said that she was going to go to dinner with her son and that she would call me tomorrow. So I'm all excited, waiting for her to call. She calls.
Well, this was a son from another marriage, not
Yeah.
from Charlie.
Yeah, not from Charlie.
Not from
or
Chuck.
not from the Chuck. She calls back and she said, honey, I'm so sorry, but my son said no. And I said, that's okay. Just
But
keep
why did he say no?
Well, he said no because the dates don't match. And this is true because what they know they didn't match because Charlie gave a different birth date when he went to New York.
Made
So he
himself
keeps
10
his-
years younger
Yes.
and used our grandmother's birthday
Yeah.
of a different
He-
year.
With a different year. He used her birthday. So anyway, I said, I totally understand. If you change your mind, if anybody decides to call me, feel free. Well, she's never called back. So I can only hope that this book reaches somebody and that they do reach out,
Wow.
So that's my hope, is that it reaches somebody from that side, because they think that all they have is the dates that he gave when he went to New York. And here's another thing. When he goes to New York, I don't know how he ends up with the family with the same last name. But the parents in New York,
He identified parents in New York by the name of Workman.
are from Russia. And if you use their birth dates, his mom would have been in Russia and she would have been 8 years old when he was born.
When we know he was born.
When we know he was born. His true birth date. So to top it all off, the FBI book also shows, like 5 or 6 different aliases that he used during this time in New York. And at a time that he was being booked, an officer that was booking him was asking him a few questions. He said, "Have you ever been arrested before?" And he was like, "Oh, no, I don't think so. Maybe once." Well, these records show that there was arrest records from 23 to 28. Charlie wasn't there yet. And these records belong to a Charles Workman. Well, there was another Charles Workman in New York, born about the same year that he gave there. And so that Charles Workman ended up in prison in Washington State when Charlie was already in prison.
And one of the things the FBI I learned from, because we've had this since '98. Our dad requested it, and it came shortly after he passed away. And I've never really sat down and read the whole thing cover to cover. And so when I did that, a couple things, I got a different perspective on it, because they started off on one case, and then they got all of this other information, and they ended up prosecuting people at a whole different level. Some people went to the electric chair.
Mm-hmm.
But what I found out was a term they called true name, because everyone had so many aliases. And so they would list all those aliases. For example, they were looking for Louis Lepke. Well, that was an alias for Louis Burkhalter, right? And so once they get someone's true name, then they can look at previous arrest records based on their aliases and their true name. And so it only seems logical that when they asked the New York Police Department, when the FBI asked them for an arrest record on Charlie Workman, all they had was the true name. And so they give them everything they knew on Charlie Workman. Must be the same guy. And we don't think so.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I think that they attached this other guy to his name because the names were the same and they were not verified by photo or fingerprinting. So it could have been that the fingerprints were bad. Who knows? Because you're talking about 1930. So
they did have fingerprints.
Yeah.
In the early 1900s.
Right.
You think that would have nailed it?
No.
The FBI, when they put their files together, they actually listed those offenses prior to 1930 as not supported by fingerprints.
Right. Unsupported.
They couldn't prove it was the same guy.
So I think that, it's very possible that it was not the same guy for those arrest records. And so, because he was not in New York then, he was in Indiana. So he didn't go to New York until 39 or 29. I'm sorry, 29.
21.
Yeah. So anything prior to 29, it would not be him. So we'll see. I don't know. I don't know if there's any way, maybe Grizz, how we can find out, because New York is terrible for any kind of record, period.
Yeah, it is.
Period. And, especially that far back, they do not want to help you do any of that. But I don't think that I don't know. Do you know if there's a way to find out about arrest records belonging to the correct person? Because
no, not unless you have the mugshots or fingerprints.
Yeah, you got to have a mugshot or fingerprint, and these were unverified by fingerprint or mugshot, and it states it right on the paper, unverified by mugshot or fingerprint.
And the interesting to me, anyhow, the paper that documents that in the FBI file is signed by J. Edgar Hoover.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
We got top level attention.
Yeah.
So another aspect, another story in the book is, I guess it's been 2 or 3 years ago now. My older sister was out here in San Diego. Are you guys familiar with Michael and Marty Perry?
Not
They're
right.
psychic mediums.
Oh, yes.
Okay. Yeah. So they used to live here in this area, and I had been going to them off and on for a very long time. My mom went with me for a private reading when she was out here. And so a couple of years ago, our parents had passed away. My older sister's here and my wife. And we had a reading over a program like this because I'm just trying to remember.
It might have been COVID, Steve.
Yeah, but so Michael and Marty have since moved to Kentucky. And I think this was actually before they moved. Not that it matters. So anyhow, we were talking to, so the way it works, for those of you who aren't familiar with Michael and Marty, Michael will channel your loved ones that have passed away. And they will tell him things, and he'll tell you what they're saying, but he'll say things like, I don't know what he's talking about, but he keeps talking about this big red truck. And you go, I know exactly what he's talking about. That was his favorite truck or whatever. So you have to kind of help Michael understand what he's getting. Yeah. So what Marty does is she puts on headphones. She doesn't listen to the conversation. And she draws pictures of people that come through to her. And so during that session, she drew a picture of someone that came through to her.
Oh, wow.
And we just weren't sure who it was. We couldn't quite figure it out. And so the person that helped Chuck Workman write his book, Pam had been in touch with. You want to tell that story, Pam, how he was...
Yeah, I contacted that author, of course, to see if we could get some contact with family because we were interested in DNA. Well, the first time I contacted him, he was all gung-ho, all happy. I can help you do whatever, da-da-da-da-da. Well, the last email I got from him was rude. Don't contact me again, and I don't want anything to do with it. You do whatever you want. I'm like, where did this come from? But the reason why he did that is, well, I'm not sure what the reason is. I have my own thoughts. But after that, I sent him a picture of that sketch. And he said, right away, I've never gotten a message from him right away. And right away, he said, where did you get that? Did somebody copy that out of a book or what? And I said, no, it does not come out of a book. I never told him where it came from, but he was just automatically, where did you get that? And he had always claimed to know Charlie, but he didn't know Charlie. Charlie was already gone by the time he met Chuck. So I think
he knew enough of him. He knew enough
of him, yes.
Things.
But yeah. I believe that sketch is Charlie's son, Chuck. But it could be Charlie.
Would be Charlie.
So
but it was enough to move the author to jump and go.
Yeah, the author.
Where did you get this, right?
Yeah, yeah. To make him want to say, where in the world did you get that from? So that was interesting in itself.
We got zapped. We're back.
You got zapped.
It's okay. We just kept going without you.
Yeah, that's right. Show goes on.
Show goes on. So, do you guys have any questions, Mary or Grizz?
No, this is fascinating.
It's a really short read, but whoever does read it, we just ask that you leave a review on Amazon. Those are important. So if anyone goes out there and grabs it, we appreciate it. Thank you so much. And leave a review, please.
So it's available in audio. It's available in Kindle, the digital form, and it's available in paperback.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's a short read, but it's got a lot of information in it. A lot of information.
Well, that's great. And if they wanted an autographed copy, how do they get that from you guys?
Well, that's a little, because I'm in California, she's in Indiana. So what they could do is to go to Kentucky.
You mean Tennessee? Yeah.
Well, and then on the way to keep going after Kentucky, go to Tennessee.
And meet us at the Paracon. Well, Mary and Grizz will be at the Paracon.
Yeah, we sure will be. So we can't wait to meet you guys. So that'd be awesome.
I mean, they can send me a message and send me their address. They can Cash App, and we can send an autograph book that way. Steve will be here next week. So,
and how do people find you, Steve and Pam?
Well, we're just using our emails actually for the book.
We're on Facebook.
Yeah, so we're on Facebook.
We're posting things like podcasts that we're on. We'll post them on Facebook. We're posting the book on Facebook.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And our publisher, Vicki Peplow, she shares out everything also. And Lee Triana Brown from All Access Network, she does the same. Thank you, Lee. And they're just awesome. I mean, I cannot believe it happened so fast. I mean, it was like within 14 days, it was 21 days it was published or something like that. I was like, wow. It was crazy.
That's awesome. Well, we greatly appreciate you. Do you have any questions?
I was just going to say congratulations, and you ought to go out on Chris's page and put your guys' name and contact information and email in case anybody wants to do it, because he's got a lot of followers on there that could see that post. And
that'd be great.
We'll post a link to the book.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you so much for taking time to come on your show and talk about it.
Thank you for inviting us. Thank you so much for having us, Grizz.
Yeah, absolutely.
You guys.
Yeah, well, Pam, we were trying to hook up.
I know. You're right down the street, man.
No, right? And Stephen, thank you for coming on as well, too. Greatly appreciate it. And ladies and gentlemen, from coast to coast, around the world, Godspeed. We'll catch you on the next show. Bye-bye, everybody. Good night.
Bye.